Let's continue the session this on instruction set. So last class we discussed the jump instruction. Recording is starting. Okay, so we'll continue. Okay, okay. System there is okay. Okay. Just give me a minute. I'll start because I'm waiting. Because students will join now, so that. Okay, so let us start the discussion. Mm, Uh, okay. Okay. So last class we discussed about the subroutine call instructions. Okay. So we discussed about L call and A call, and after jumping to the subroutine, it will come back to the main program after executing the instruction called as RET. RET stands for written instruction. Okay. It will go back to the location where the next instruction next to the A call or L call instruction is stored. This we saw in the last class. Okay, this we discussed in the last class. So one point we have to understand here is that difference between the A call and the L call. A call stands for absolute call. L call stands for long call. So long call range is anywhere within the 64 kilobyte of memory. That's complete ROM space. Complete ROM space memory. So it can take a jump anywhere within the memory. Okay, 64 kilobyte of memory. But A call, the jump range should be within the 2 kilobyte range. That's the basic difference. So most of the cases, A call is preferred instead of L call because it will save some of the ROM space because A call takes only 2 bytes. L call will take 3 bytes to store the uh, no, instruction. Okay, so L call will take 3 bytes, whereas A call will take only 2 bytes. Okay, so that's how A call can be used in case in case of subroutine call, so that we can save the memory. Okay, so let us look into various jump instruction now. Um, jump jump instruction, we understood that there are two types: conditional and unconditional jump instructions. Okay, let us look at some instruction now, then we'll jump to other part of the discussion. Okay, so one of the jump instruction we frequently use in our program. In most of the programs we use the Uh, commonly used instruction is DGNZ. I'll go to that. No? Just wait for a second. Okay, 56. Okay. So today's class strength is 56. Okay. So the attendance, of course, it will update here. No, it will save as a separate file. Okay. So okay. So what are the instructions based? Last class we saw the various jump instructions used in 805 microcontroller. Okay, assembly programming. So these are the commonly used jump instructions. Let us look into each one of them. Okay. So in this document, in this presentation document, first we start with the DJZ instruction. So DJ, okay, let us look into SJMP. The simplest instruction being, sorry, I'm sorry, SJMP instruction. Okay. So let us say we have written some instruction, guys. Let us say NOP. What is NOP? No operation. Okay. So this is used to it's like a placeholder. It doesn't perform any operation, but it is considered as an instruction. Okay. So let's say SJMP L1. Okay. L1, or let us call it as loop. Okay. Loop. You can bring in any. Let us take one more instruction NOP, or let us say move a comma hash 068, for example. Some example. L1. Here, let us say we are going to add, or let us do increment A, for example, something like that. Okay, this is very simple program. Very very, just to understand the uh, function of SJMP. Okay, so initially, this when the microcontroller is reset, the content of accumulator is 0. Okay, let us see what happens to this program. Let us run the program, save the program, check for syntax error. There is a build target. There is an error. There is a undefined simple HMP. Yes, loop, because here I have said loop and here I have said L1. That's all. This should also be loop. Okay, here we go. So the if this label, if you defined not used, similar generates error. Similar says you have defined some label, but you are not using it, so it is not happy. So okay, so you have to make sure that the labels are properly defined and used. Build target. Somebody is on the line. Yeah. Any count variation? This count changes very slowly. This is like oxygen level, so it takes a lot of time to change. Is it 57 only? Somebody joined now, but okay, no issues. Here we go. Okay. Okay, let us run the program. Again, guys, I'll run stepwise to understand the operation. Okay, you can see that there are no errors. Debug start session to convert assembly code into operational code or binary code. Okay, you can see observe this, guys. See, observe the disassembly window. This disassembly window shows the program and the what you call operational codes. Okay, this NOP instruction is loaded at location 0000. Okay, but this NOP does not has any operational codes. This does not has a operational code. That means it is considered as an instruction, but this will not be converted into a binary representation. Okay, it's just a dummy instruction. Okay? I wanted to show you that NOP. That's why I used. I could have used any other instruction. No problem. Okay. Let me open C code space. Code memory 0x0000. Okay, yeah. So the okay, sorry, the NOP as a, I'm sorry, I'll correct myself. NOP as a operational code of 00. NOP instruction operational code is 00. That means 00 byte. It is a it is a 8-bit data. So 8-bit data means 0. Sorry, so 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. Okay, it's 8-bit data. Okay, so this 8-bit 00H is stored at the location 0000. Okay, so there is a binary representation of instruction NOP. Okay, yeah. So next is in the next location the instruction SJMP is stored. Okay, SJMP instruction is loaded as 8003. Okay, from where this 03 comes. Why is 03? This we'll discuss later. How to calculate the target address we'll discuss later. Okay, let us not go into that now. So 8003 is loaded as 80 in the first location, that is 0001. 03 is loaded in the third location, that is 0002 location, that is somewhere here. Okay. Next again I have used one more NOP instruction whose operational code is 0000 in the location 0003, in the location 0003. And MOVE, we know that it is 74H. In the earlier examples we have seen, MOVE corresponds to 74H, and 06 is the immediate data, which is part of the instruction. Okay, data part of the instruction, immediate the addressing mode. So 74 is in the next location, and 06 is in the immediate next location. And one more instruction, increment A, the operational code is 04, that is in the next location. Very simple. Okay, so data are stored like this. This next is, let us execute the program. Okay, so starting F11 on my keyboard. First instruction, nothing, it doesn't do anything, SJMP loop. Okay, so when the second instruction is executed, since SJMP is an unconditional jump instruction, unconditional means it doesn't wait for any condition to be true or false. It will take a jump. To where it take a jump? It will take a jump to the instruction whose label is loop. The instruction whose label is loop. Okay. When it executes this instruction, initially the content of accumulator is 00. You can see that here. No? Initially the content of accumulator is 00H. So when increment A instruction is executed, the content of accumulator becomes 01. Okay. F11 on my keyboard, content of A becomes 01H. Content of A becomes 01H. So, okay, so that's how we can use SJMP instruction. Okay, but since SJMP is a relative addressing mode, the condition is that this loop target address. Okay, so the loop is somewhere here. The loop is somewhere here. Increment A, that is somewhere here. The distance between SJMP instruction and this target address, this distance should not be bigger than 128 bytes. 128 bytes, either on the forward direction or on the backward direction. Backward direction means, let us say SJMP instruction is in somewhere in this location, and the target location loop is somewhere in this location. This distance should not also be larger than minus 128 bytes. Okay, that's how it is. So this distance, 128 bytes means these locations. These locations, the distance are this location should be less than 128 bytes for the short jump instruction to execute. If it is larger than that, for example, let us use that LJMP instruction, for example. Okay, just to understand the usage of LJMP. Usually, nobody uses LJMP for or normal programs because our programs may not occupy more than 20 or 30 bytes, in the memory. So it's not an issue. Okay, so, but still, just to understand the operation. Debug start session. So F11 on my keyboard. Okay, so first instruction NOP, no operation. Second instruction LJMP, it will jump to the loop, increment A. So content of A is incremented by 1. So data is loaded in the accumulator. Yes, sir. Okay. So that's how the what you call LJMP and SJMP instruction works. Okay. Yes, hold on a second. Here we go. Okay. So that's the functioning of what is known as a LJMP instruction. Okay. Right. So after okay, let us look into an instruction called as DJNZ instruction. What is DJNZ instruction? Okay. This is commonly used in our assembly language program. Very, very important instruction. So to repeat sequence of instructions a certain number of times, okay, we make use of what is known as DJNZ instructions. It's something like while loop in C language. Because why I'll take the example of C is because we have studied C in the first year, so that's why while -1. Okay, let us say these instructions will be executed. Let us take two loop control variables just to understand the DJNZ instruction better. For I is equal to 0, I less than let us say 5, I plus plus, I plus plus. Okay, something like this. Let us do. Let us say we are doing some operation here. Let us not worry about the operations. Okay, yes, in these two cases, while and for, which one you think is an infinite loop? Is anybody can answer? Out of these two, which one you think is an infinite loop? Is anybody? Are you able to hear me, guys? Is anybody? Which is the infinite loop in these two guys? In these two loop control functions? Okay. So infinite loop, while is an infinite loop. Why? Because while minus 1, anything other than 0 is true. Anything other than 0, even minus 1 is true because it is not 0. Minus 1 is not 0. Okay. So this is an infinite loop. Whereas this one for loop will execute as long as this condition is true. As long as there is initially I initialized I to 0, it checks whether I is less than 5, not less than or equal to 5. It is less than 5, I plus plus. So this will loop. This will loop till I goes from 0 to 4. That means it will execute for 5 times. After executing for 5 times, this condition is false. Now this condition is false. It will come out of the for loop. Okay. Similarly, dgen z instruction is similar to for loop in C language. Okay. What it does is, okay, it is used as a loop control variable. So loop is represented using a label. That is loop in the sense of starting instruction of, just like in for loop, this is the first instruction. Okay. Similarly, in the assembly language program, when we write the program, the first instruction is identified with a label. Let us say L1, for example, L1. Okay. So that corresponds to the first instruction. This label is part of the instruction. Okay. This register acts as a counter. Register acts as a counter, decrement counter. Okay, just like I in the for loop. Okay, so I acts as a counter. Similarly, here register acts as a counter. First, initially we have to load some value to register. Okay, because in the for loop, we can do this. For example, I is equal to 10, I less than I greater than 0, I greater than 0, I minus minus. Okay, correct. This is possible in C language. Okay, similarly we can do this in assembly using the instruction djnz, using the instruction djnz. Okay, initially some values loaded. Let's say I need to run these instructions. Let us say some n number of lines are there. I need to run this L1 for, let us say 10 times. 10 times we have to load 10 to register, 10 to register. Okay, and run the instruction. Okay, so what does the dgenz instruction does is, what the dgenz stands for, decrement jump not 0. Okay, decrement jump not 0. Decrement means decrement the content of register which is part of the instruction by one value. Decrement by one value. For example, let us say initially it was 10 minus 1. 10 means 0a. In hexadecimal it is 0a. 0a minus 1, it becomes 09. Okay, it compares this with 0. Is it equal to 0? Okay, if it is not equal to 0, okay, first it will decrement the content of register, checks with 0. If it is not equal to 0, it will jump to the target location which is represented by a label. Just now we took the example of a program. The first line of the program is L1, labeled as L1. So L1 is part of the instruction. So if after decrementing the register, if the content of the register is not equal to 0, then it will take a jump to the L1. This will continue till the content of register becomes 0. Just like in C language, till this condition is satisfied, the for loop is executed. Once this condition fails, it will come out of the for loop. Similarly, till the content of register is 0, reduced to 0, this dgenz instruction is executed. Once the content of register becomes 0, the assembler will come out of the loop. Somebody is on the line, yes. Just a second then, because I need to. Okay. Okay, so till it becomes 0, execute the instruction, dgenz instruction. Once the content of register is 0, it will come out of dgenz instruction. Okay, come out of the dgenz instruction means it will go to the next instruction next to the dgenz instructions. Okay, that will say will execute the program. Okay, so thereby, so this so register is decremented. If not 0, it jumps to the target address referred by the label. Prior to the start of the loop, the register is loaded with a counter. Counter is a register. Okay, it is loaded with a value. Okay, for number of repetitions. Okay, so the content of register indicates number of times we have to repeat the loop. Let's say we need to repeat, let's say 5 times. Okay, so the content of register should be 05, 05H, something like that. Okay, so for counter, we can use any register from R0 to R7. Generally, we don't go for accumulator and B register because they are CPU registers. It will be used for all arithmetic and logical instructions. So some of these two registers are not recommended. R0 and R7, you can use any register. There is no condition, there is no restrictions. We can use any register for this purpose. Okay. So let's look into the program. Let us look into the program. Okay. So let us take some value. So what is the? I got a program here, but this is a simple program anyway. Okay. So let us. I'll take this program. So what does this program does is it will add 3 to the accumulator 10 times. Okay, you can add, you can multiply, you can do anything you can do. Okay, so let me take this program. I'll explain the program. I'll explain. Let's discuss the program in detail so that we understand how the dgenz instruction works. Okay, so I'll paste this. As I told I'm not comfortable with these comments. This will delete. Okay, now these comments will distract my attention. So I'm deleting the comments. It's not a good practice. Comments is always recommended. Okay, anyway. So initially the accumulator content is initialized to 0, but I'll not consider this. Let me delete this also, because once the machine is restarted, once 8015 is restarted, by default accumulator content will be 0. Let me not use that line also. Okay. Initially, I need to add the add 3 to accumulator. That means initially like this. Initially content of A is 0. Okay, add 3 to this, add or multiply, whichever whatever operation is 3. Next again add 3 to this. Like this I need to do 10 times. I need to do 10 times. Okay, let us next we need to add 6 to 3, 3 to 6. Something like this. This I need to repeat 10 times. Okay. See, if the loop is not used, then we need to repeat this instruction how many times? 10 times. Okay, so we need to repeat this 10 times. Okay, so like this we have to repeat 10 times. Okay, but okay, that is unnecessary, and it becomes the program becomes clumsy, and that's not the way to code anyway. Okay, so we are using dgenz instruction. What dgenz instruction does is, initially R3, R2, in this program the author has used R2, no problem. You can use any register. R2 is initially loaded with 10 decimal. This you observe the program, nothing is represented, that means it represents a decimal. Compiler internally converts into hexadecimal number, it becomes 0AH. Internally it is 0AH. So what does this, once initially the content of accumulator is 0, it is added with 03. Okay, the content of accumulator becomes 03. Okay, then it checks content of, first it will decrement the content of R2 by 1 value, -1, it becomes 09. Compares, it will compare this with 0. Okay, if it is not equal to 0, then it will jump to label again, which is part of the instruction. That means it will go back to this line. So this line is repeated each time after decrementing R2, comparing it to 0 is not equal to 0. This again line is repeated 10 times. Okay, once the content of R2 becomes equal to 0, okay, then it will come out of the loop, it will go to the next instruction. Okay, what we are doing in the next instruction is the content of accumulator, after adding 3 to accumulator 10 times, so whatever the data available in accumulator, that will be transferred into R5. Okay, just to demonstrate what happens if this condition fails. That's one instruction. Okay, this is very simple. Let us execute the program. Build target. Okay, yes, 10 times I need to press F11. Let me make it as 5. That is run it only for 5 times. That's enough. If you understand DJZ instruction, that should be okay. You need not worry about how many times we run the program. Okay, okay. Let us run the program. Debug start session to convert assembly code into operational code by the assembler. That's okay. So what are the locations to observe is, one is the accumulator and the other location is R2. Other location is R2. Okay, here we go. And R5 of course, because at the end what happens to R5, let us. Okay, yeah, here we go. F11 on my keyboard. First instruction R5 to R2. The data files are copied into R2. Next instruction, this it is like execution of this instruction without checking the condition. Okay, guys, in the C language you know that there is a while do. Guess you know this combination is while condition or do and while. I think you know that do while. I think this loop variable, I think you guys are aware of, while do while and while do. I think you know that. Okay, so something like that. Something like that. Okay, in do, what is the difference between do while and while do, guys? In do while, what happens is that first it will execute the program, then it will check the condition. That means we make sure that at least this set of instructions executed at least once before checking the condition. In while do, what happens is it will check the condition first, then it will execute the program. Okay, so there's a difference. Okay, so the dgenz is like a do while code. It's like a do while loop control variable, not while do. Okay, so that difference we need to understand. Okay, here we go. F11 on my keyboard, second line execution. A content becomes 3. That means 0 plus 3. Initially it was 0, it is 3 now. Next dgenz instruction is executed. Observe the content of R2. Okay, so from 5 becomes 4. What does the compiler does is it will check the content of R2 with 0. Okay, R2 now is 4. It is compared with 0. Is it equal to 0? No. It will jump to the loop again. Okay, execution F11 on my keyboard. So the 3 is added to content of accumulator and the result is stored back to accumulator. Now it is 6. Next it will execute dgenz instruction. So the initially it is 04 now. R2 content, it becomes 03. It will go back to again. It will add 3 to content of accumulator. It becomes 09. It will decrement R2, compares with 0 not equal to 0. It will go to again. It will execute again line. From 3 it becomes 2 not equal to 0. It goes to add instruction. It will execute add instruction R2. Now it is 2. It will decrement by 1 value. It becomes 1. Is it equal to 0? No, it's not equal to 0. It goes to again. It will add 3 to the content of accumulator and the result is stored back to accumulator. Now it comes to R2. It execute decrements R2 by 1 value. Is it equal to 0? Yes. Since now the R2 content is equal to 0, you can observe that compiler has come out of the loop. Compiler has come out of the loop. Now it is in the 7th line of program. Okay, so now it will transfer the content of accumulator to R5. It will transfer the content of accumulator to R5. That's all. Okay, so that's how the dgenz instruction works. Okay, so dgenz instruction is similar to do while, not while do. Okay, so there's a difference you have to understand. Okay, it's very simple, while do dgenz instruction is a yes. Okay, this is conditional jump instruction. Why conditional jump instruction? It will check content of the register after decrementing it by 1, compares with 0. If it is not equal to 0, then only it takes a jump. That means it is a conditional jump instruction, not like SJMP. SJMP is similar to goto. SJMP is similar to goto in C language, but you know that in the C language, it's almost all the authors suggest not to use goto instruction. It's not a professional way of writing the code. I mean, different methods. Anyway, no problem. Okay, that's about. Okay, guys, I think it's clear, guys, right? dgenz instruction is very simple, It's quite okay. Now what happens is that if you use register, let us say we are using R2. Okay, So the maximum value of R2 is, it can contains 0 FFH. Okay. FFH means 256, decimal 256. That means 256 means it can go from 00 to FF. FF is 255, 255, including 0, maximum number is 256. That means if you use only one loop, then we can execute this line only 256 times, maximum 256 times. That is, even if you take R2 as 0 FFH, maximum times we can execute R2 again loop is only one, only 256 times. Now, let us say I need to run 1000 times. 256 is not sufficient. I need to run more than 256 times. Okay, then we have to go for what is known as a nested loops. Just like in C language also, in C also we have nested loops. Loop within the loop. Okay, for example, let's say let us write for we have for loop. Okay, within that we have one more for. Okay. Similarly, within the for there is one nested loops. It is nothing but nested loops. Okay. Similarly, we can have what is known as a nested loop in assembly programming. Okay. So we go for nested loop. So we use multiple registers. So to achieve nested loops, we have to have a multiple registers. There's one program for that, a simple program. Let us look into this, to understand nested loops. Okay, so what we are doing in this program is so load the accumulator with the value 55H, complement the accumulator 700 times. Okay, to complement the accumulator, say 55H, if it is complemented, it becomes I think AAH. Okay, AA and why it's AA 0. If you take 55 corresponds to, in binary it is 0101 0101. If it is complemented, there's one's complement 1010 1010. It's nothing but AAH. Okay, fine. To complement 700 times, one register is not sufficient, because with one register maximum time you can complement is only you can run is only 256 times. Maximum times you can run a loop is 256 times. Okay, so we need to go for a nested loops. How does nested loop works? Let us understand. Okay, I'll take the same program to understand the nested loop. Okay. Here we go. Again, this comment, comment thing is somewhat really distracting. So I'll remove the comments. Programming, you should always use a comment. Using comments is a good practice, but for discussion purpose, somehow I'm not comfortable. That's why it takes some space so that we. Here we go. Okay, so let us. Okay, so now the R3 accumulator is 55H, R3 is 0A, R2 is 70. Okay, so let us run this program. Let us understand how does this this works. Nested loop. I'll take this. Let us do one thing. Just for discussion purpose, I'll take smaller value. Let us take it as 3, and let me take this as 10. Okay, just 5, just for discussion purpose. There we go. Build target. Debug start session. Okay. So the locations to observe is R3, R2, R3, R2, and accumulator. F11 on my keyboard. Now first 55H is transferred into accumulator. Okay. Next 3 to R2, 5 to 3 to R3. Sorry. Okay. 5 to R2. Complement A. For 55 becomes AH. I think you can't see that. 55H becomes after complementing AH. Okay. So F11 on my keyboard, DGNZ. Okay. Please observe this. There are two loops. One is inner loop and the outer loop. Okay. R2 corresponds to inner loop. Okay. Now this again is executed till R2 goes from 5 to 0. Till R2 goes from 5 to 0. Okay, let us execute this. Okay, execute this. So observe R2 base. Earlier it was 5, it becomes 4 now. So this will run till R2 becomes 0. R3 is not affected. R3 is still 3. It is not affected. Okay. So till R2 becomes 0, it is executed. Once R2 becomes 0, it will go to the next instruction. See, it will go to the next instruction, that is R3. Okay. Now R3 is executed. Once R3 executed once, let us say R3 is initially 3, it will become 2. Observe this, it will become 2. After R3 is decremented by one value, it goes to the target location, which is part of the instruction. In this case, it is next. Okay. In the next, what we do is we load R2 with 5 again. Okay. When R2 is loaded with 5, what happens is that the program will continue execution from this point onwards. Now, from this point onwards. Okay. So R2 is now loaded because R2 had become 0 in the first execution. Now R2 is loaded with 5. Now let us run the program. Okay, so now complement. So R2 now again goes from 5 to 0. See, initially R3 was this is R3. R3 was 3. Okay, R2 goes from 5 to 0. When R2 is decremented by one value, it becomes 2. R2 is loaded with 5 again. R2 now will go from 5 to 0. Okay, when R2 becomes 0, again R3 is decremented by one value. It becomes 1. R3 is loaded with 5. It will go from 5 to 0. Okay. So like this, R2 is a internal loop. Okay. And R3 is a external loop. What is the difference? R2, for every one decrement of R3, which is external loop, internal loop will go from maximum value to minimum value. Maximum in our case it is 5. It is loaded with 5. It goes from 5 to 0 for every one decrement of R3, where R3 is the external loop. R3 will control the external loop. R2 will control the internal loop. Okay. So let us quickly observe. R2 is 5 now. Now it is 4, 3. R2 is 2. R2 is 1. When it becomes 0, it will go to R3. What is R3 value base? It is 2. Now R3 becomes 1. Okay. When R3 becomes 1, when R3 became 1, R2 will be loaded with 5. R2 is loaded with 5 because it is taking control to next. Okay. So this will continue. So R2 is loaded with 5. This repeats till R2 becomes 0. R2 becomes 0. Next it goes to R3. This instruction, R3 also becomes 0. When R3 is also 0, it will come out of the program. Okay, it will take a jump to the next instruction. Okay, in our case, there is no instruction after last DJNZ instruction. That's why it shows error. Error in the sense, the end of the program. Error means we are trying to execute a program where the program does not exist. Okay, that's how it is. Okay, so thereby nesting of a loop is possible in assembly language program using DJNZ instruction. It's okay. So this is about DJNZ instruction. This is frequently used instruction in our assembly language program. Okay. So this is very important. That's why. Okay. Next is some jump instructions. Again, it's a conditional jump instruction based on some condition. It will take a jump. Jump 0 label. For a JZ instruction, default to location is accumulator. It will take a jump to label only if the content of accumulator is 0. Okay. Otherwise, it will go to the next instruction. So let us execute this program. Okay. Let us write a program. It's no problem. Okay. Let us write a simple program. Let us have A comma R1. Okay. So let's say R1 is okay. Let us not make R1. Let us take some data directly. Hash 068. Okay. Jump it 0 A. No, not A. Sorry. Jump it 0 L1. Okay. So what we do in L1 is L1. Okay. Subtract A with SUBB. Sorry. Instruction is SUBB A comma hash 06 fetch. Jump if 0, L2. L2. Where is L2? I'll go back here. Simple program, you know. I think you can guess what I'm trying to do in this program. Very simple. Load 6 to accumulator. Jump if 0. Okay. Is it accumulator 0? No, it is equal to 6, which is not equal to 0, which is not equal to 0. So because this fails, it will take a jump to L1. It will go to the next instruction. Okay. In this case, okay, just to make sure that it will take a jump, let us use some dummy instruction, NOP. Okay, to make sure that it is take a jump to the L1. Okay, so in this L1, it will subtract 6 from accumulator. So what is the content of accumulator now? 6 minus 6, it becomes 0. Content of accumulator is 0. In the next JZ instruction, it will check the content of accumulator. Since it is equal to 0, it will take a jump to L2. It will take a jump to L2. Very simple. Very simple. Just to understand JZ operation. Okay. Here we go. So let us run the program line by line. Build target. Debug start session. Okay. So F11 on my keyboard. Okay. So content of accumulator is 6. Content of accumulator is 6. Okay. So next instruction, JZ11. So JZ accumulator is not equal to 0. It will take a jump to. Okay. Sorry. If it is equal to 0, if A is equal to 0, then only it will take a jump to L1. Since A is not equal to 0, it went to next line. That's why I inserted this NOP line, just to understand, you know, because if there is no NOP line, even otherwise it will take a jump to next instruction L1 if there is no NOP. Just to demonstrate that, I used NOP, no operation. So now it is now in NOP instruction. So after executing this, it will go to L1. Okay. So what happens in L1 is, it will subtract 6 from 6, A, accumulator, the content of accumulator. So the result is 0. The content of accumulator becomes 0. Okay. Since content of accumulator is 0, JZ L2 will force the control back to L2. Will force the control back to the first instruction L2. Okay. It will go to the first instruction for some reason. Okay. This is what is called as a JZ instruction. Jump if 0. Jump if the content of accumulator is 0 to a target location whose first address is part of the instruction. First address is represented in the form of label. First address is represented in the form of label. That's all. Okay. Yeah, here we go. That's about JZ instruction. Similarly, we can have we can come out with many instructions. You know, JZ, many program examples. JNZ. What is JNZ does is, sorry, just a second. I think somebody's on the line. Okay, just give me a second. Give me a second. Okay? I need to note the attendance because. There we go. Okay. JNZ. Let us test the JNZ instruction. JNZ stands for jump if no 0. That means if accumulator content is not equal to 0, then it will take a jump to the target location. That's all. That's the difference between JZ and JNZ. Let us not execute program for this. It is very simple. You can JNC, jump if no carry. That means, so see, the difference between JZ and JNC is that, you know, JZ will check the content of accumulator. Accumulator means it is a 8-bit register. Accumulator is a 8-bit register. What happens if JC, the jump if carry or jump if no carry is used, it will check the content of carry bit. What is the size of carry bit? 1 bit. Okay. So JZ or JNZ will check 8-bit locations, whereas JC and JNC will check only 1-bit location. But the operation is same. Okay. Operation is same. For 8-bit accumulator is used, for 1-bit carry bit is used. Jump if no carry, I think JC is discussed here now. Okay. Jump if no carry, that is if carry bit is 0, No carry means carry is reset. Then it will take a jump to the target location whose address is part of the instruction in the form of label. Similarly, we can think of JC, jump if carry. I don't know whether it's given here. Jump if carry. Okay, it's not given. Okay, jump if carry. JC, it will take a jump to JC label. JC label. So if carry is equal to 0, sorry, if carry is set to 1, carry is set to 1, then it will take a jump to label. That's all. Okay. That's about JC instruction. So any other instruction we have to do? Okay. So we discussed. JZ, JNZ, JC, JNC. Okay, so JNZ, JNZ, DJNZ are all 8-bit it will check the 8-bit data. It will handle 8-bit of data. Okay, so next we have to check JC and JNC will check work with 1 bit of data. That is carry bit. Okay, there are few more bit jump instructions. Okay, called as JB, JNB, and JBC. Okay, let us discuss that now. I don't know whether that is explained here. Just a minute, check. It's not explained here. Okay, is it explained here? It's only mentioned, not explained. Okay, no issues. I think it is given somewhere here. Condition JB, JBC. Okay, no issues. We'll let us run the program. Okay, in the program we'll understand. Here it is. Okay, JB. What is JB, guys? Jump if bit. So JC will check the carry bit. Let's say, for example, we are using bit addressable locations. Okay, that is what is bit addressable location is in the internal RAM space. We have what is known as a bit addressable memory. In bit addressable memory, each bit has an address that we have seen in the earlier classes. So each bit has a address. Okay, each bit has a address. If one of these bit locations has to be checked, whether to check whether it is set or not set, and based on that, if we have to take a jump, okay, so then we use the instruction JB, jump if bit. If you want to take a jump, if the bit is reset to 0, the instruction is jump if not bit. Okay, there is slight modification of that instruction called as jump if bit is set to 1 and clear the bit to 0 before taking a jump. Okay, for example, let us take let's jump to that memory address, internal RAM location. So there we'll understand this. Okay, I'll take a jump to. I need to take a long jump now. That is to bit addressable memory. Oh, sorry, not in this document, guys. I'm sorry. It is in this document. Okay. In this document, here it's a really long jump. Yeah, somewhere here. Okay. So if these bits, these 1-bit locations. Let us say, for example, let us take one example. Okay. Location is 6E, for example. Okay. If this 6E location, if it is set to 1, okay, then what we have to do is, we have to first, in JBC instruction, first check whether this bit is set to 1. If it is set to 1, then we have to take a jump to the target address, which is represented as label. But before we take a jump to this label, we have to reset this bit to 0. Okay, that's the meaning of JBC. Jump if bit is set to 1, but before take a jump, clear the bit to 0, clear the flag to 0. Okay, C for clear, not for carry. Most of the time we get confused. C for carry bit. In JBC instruction, it is not carry bit, it is a clear bit. Okay, so let us run all the 3 instructions and let us understand how does it work. Okay, so let me write okay, so JB. So let us take JB, jump if bit. Okay, what is the bit case? Jump if bit. There is which address I'll take, 48, for example. 48, go to L1. Okay, NOP, because I don't want to use any other instruction here. Jump if not bit 41H to L2. Where is L1, L2? Let us see. Okay, NOP, jump if bit is set 1 and clear the flag 47H, for example. 47H, comma L3. Okay, fine. What is L1, L2, L3? Let us go somewhere here. I'll use NOP. L1 Okay, increment A, some instruction is just to understand, L2, let us increment the B, and L3 is R0. Some example, just to understand the jumping operation. Here we go. Yes, but before that, I need to check this address, because I'll take such that these locations are better. Okay, yes, I'll take these three locations: 574F 47. Okay, this is better. I'll start from 47, 474F 57. Okay, just a second. 474F 57. 4 here it is 4747 4F and 5757. Okay, fine. Guess what is my plan is, observe this diagram is, if these three bits are set to 1, okay, if these three bits are set to 1, other bits are reset to 0. What is the content of these three locations is byte address. These are byte address, 282928. What is the content of these locations? If only MSB bit is set to 1, it is 80H. It is 80H. So what I do in the program is, initially for these three locations 282928, I load 80H. That means these three locations are set to 1. So based on that, these three operations will be performed. There is these three conditions will be checked. Okay, but I'll not set 1 to all the locations. I'll set only to 1 or 2 locations, so that we can understand the operation. Debug stop session. Okay, save the program. Save the program. Build target. Okay, things are okay. So JB instruction is correct. Okay, now debug start session. First, I need to load value to locations to observe this. See, in this memory, we can observe only 8 bit at a time. There is a data memory 0x. What are the locations of this? 2A. Starting from not 2A. Just a second. It was 2 2A 282928. There it is. Here it is. Okay. 28. Okay. 28. Initially it is 0. Okay. So 28. Then it is okay. After 8 locations, 1 28 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay. Okay. So I'll take 3 memory locations so that we can observe 28 29, and I'll take one more memory location. So to add this, okay, let us let me check. Okay. I'll adjust this so that this 29 comes somewhere here. I'll adjust in here this, okay. So that the 3 locations are one below the other. It is easy to control. It is easy to observe. It is easy to load the data. Okay. It is 8 more locations. 31 30 2 29. Okay, we came to 29. Okay, fine, no problem. Okay, I'm not able to list. Okay, take the sufficient space. Okay, no problem. Here only I'll load this. Okay, I need to open one more window. View, go to memory window, open one more window. You can open one more window, no problem. Okay, so I'll take the address. Oh, sorry, correct. Now I don't know why I'm opening one more window. Here only I can observe. Okay, this what I do is, this is 28. Okay, this location is 28. Next is 29 and 2A. Okay, in these 3 locations I need to load the data. Okay, I'll load data only to the only one location. Let us observe, for example. Okay, let us say I load only data to 28 as 80. For other 2 locations, I'll not load the data. Let us see what happens. I'll load it to only 29H. Let us see what happens. Okay, in the program, in the compiler, this is 28. In the 29 location, I load it as 80. Okay. Let us observe the program. Let's observe this execution of the program. F11 on my keyboard. 47H. Okay, what is 47H is? This location. 47. Where is 47? This is. Okay. Is this set to 1? No. Why? Because the content of 28H is 00. That means this 47 is 0. that means the condition is false. Jump bit, the bit is not set to 1, and then since 47 is not set to 1, it will go to the next line. Okay, observe this. F11 on my keyboard. Yeah, so if 47 inch is not set, it will go to the next line. Okay, it will execute NOP, then it will go to the next line. Okay, in this case 4FH is set to 1. If 4FH is set to 1, if it is true, it should go to L2. It should go to L2. Okay, observe this. Okay, F11 on my keyboard, it goes to 4FH is set to 1, but it is going to L2. Sorry, something wrong. 4FH or some other address I've taken. 4FH is correct, 29H, but what memory location I opened, let me check. 28, made a mistake here, 28, 29, 2A, correct. 29 I have set to 1, 28, 29, some mistake now. JBC, it will go to, no. Sorry, yes, it didn't work. I'll take the program. In the next class, I'll update this. Okay, in the next class, I'll continue with this program. Okay, we'll discuss these 3 instructions, and then we'll go to some other set of instructions. Okay, I'll continue in this with this jump instructions. I'll continue in the next class. Okay. Yes, thank you. Thanks for joining. See you in the next class. Stay home, stay safe, take care.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good day, good day, good day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good day.